Hello, welcome to Horror Cult Trash Over, the show that discusses all of the masterpieces and trashterpieces of genre cinema. I'm Gary.
And I'm Chris.
And we have reached the end of Nasty November.
Woo.
Woo, it's been a great month.
Well, it has, but, you know, the tides turn and seasons change and things have to go on.
Wow, that was fucking deep. We're continuing a trend of having fantastic films. Well, fantastic. Maybe not fantastic. Yeah. Enjoyable films.
Calm down a little bit.
Well, it's been a good month.
Killer Nun, you know? Come on.
Spoiler.
Sorry.
And of course, we've had guests throughout the month, and for our final Nasty November guest for this year, we have someone who is part of an ever-growing Instagram film community, someone who writes some of the best reviews I've seen on the platform. She's one of the hosts of the Cinemumble podcast, a member of our Gasp Film Festival team, and a good friend of the podcast. It's Kim from Kim Cinema Escape.
Hello, thank you for having me.
You are welcome. Thank you for joining us. So we have some questions, and since the start of the month, I've started preparing people for these questions. Sorry, George. If anyone recalls our Evil Dead episode. So what led to your love of films, and what made you want to start an Instagram account dedicated entirely to films?
So my mum was always big into films, especially horror. And so just generally watched a lot of films growing up. And I did media studies in college, and like the film part of that, I don't know, it was the only thing that I was like really good at. So I was like, I did film at uni because of that. And then, yeah, just watched a lot. And then I think, when did I start my Instagram? Back in 2018. I moved up here, didn't really know anyone, so I kind of had a lot of free time and just thought I wanted to start something. Me and my friend used to have a blog, and then we couldn't carry it on for a while. And then, yeah, just wanted a little outlet to write reviews and things, and still going.
Nice.
Yeah.
And as I mentioned in your intro, you have your own podcast yourself, one that discusses a very wide range of films and subjects. We had a listen to Showgirls and Sunset Boulevard.
Yeah, two of my favourite films.
So tell us a little more about that and how that came about.
So I started out with my friend Tom, who's also on Instagram. I think it all started off because we had a live debate on Instagram about Hereditary, and I loved it. He hated it, so that's how we started our friendship and thought we wanted to carry it on. And we haven't done any of it in a while, but we're hoping next year to get back onto it. We tend to just pick a random film for each other to discuss, and then he had a bit of an old film education, and I was giving him all things to watch, things like Sunset Boulevard and Double Indemnity, that sort of thing. So yeah, we're hoping to get back onto it next year, and yeah.
And then, so next time we'll have you both on, and means it won't be nasty. If it's not Nasty November, we can pick something. You could pick something classic. Or maybe we could do a sort of double bill.
Maybe try Hereditary again. I don't believe anyone could watch that performance from Toni Collette and not enjoy it.
Oh God, you'd think so, but no. We can't even talk about it anymore because it's too much debate.
What's your thoughts on the Video Nasties era as a whole?
So I realised when you sent me the list how little I'd seen at first. But because my mum was really big into horror, one of her favourites is Evil Dead. So she always talked about that. But I didn't really know much about what happened at the time. And I thought it was like real life films, almost like snuff type films. So that's what I thought it was when I was a kid. And then I've seen a handful now, and you kind of just realise it's just our typical UK government being moral panic and all that sort of thing. But yeah, I didn't really have much information about it. And it's funny because I was looking into it earlier, and the Hungerford massacre came up. My mum used to live there, and I remember her talking about it, and that was never a thing. She never mentioned any of the Video Nasty stuff. It's bizarre that I've had all these things that I've spoken about in the past and no one's ever brought it up, but she loves horror films, so she wouldn't ever blame it on that. No. But yeah, I'd hate the argument that violence in film causes violence in real life. It's just bullshit. So, yeah, it's interesting to look back on it, but it's bullshit. Basically.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think it definitely, and I've said this a lot throughout the month, it kind of helped make some of these films more noticeable for people? Because I mean, stuff like what we're talking about today, Killer Nun. Who'd be looking back at something called Killer Nun if it wasn't highlighted
It's true.
on a video
It
nasties
is
list?
true. And poor Kim, she essentially just said she had classier taste in films. And we forced her to sit here and talk about Killer Nun.
Oh, don't get me wrong. I love a bit of schlock.
Yeah.
I grew up in the golden age of horror of the noughties. So,
So do you have a favourite and least favourite video nasty?
so with the few that I've seen, I think obviously Evil Dead is a classic, but my favourite is Tenebrae. I love that film. It's my favourite Argento. Favourite of that. The soundtrack is my favourite soundtrack in a film. So yeah, I do love that. And my least favourite, I wasn't that keen on Blood Feast. But I can't really remember much about it. So that's obviously telling. But yeah, I also wasn't a fan of Cannibal Holocaust either.
Yeah, that's definitely.
I draw the line at real life animal
Yes.
violence.
Yeah.
All the other stuff I could deal with. I don't mind gore, but yeah, the animal violence is not nice. So
Yeah, that seems to be a thing in a lot of the Italian cannibal films from that era, doesn't it?
Yeah. It's a stain on those. Oh, well,
Yeah.
a stain on those films. It's called fucking Cannibal Holocaust. For fuck's sake.
it's just, I think, my feelings on, especially that film particularly, if you can do all the practical effects for the other violence, you have no justification to do it for animals.
Yeah.
It's true.
It's just like, you just do the same thing.
Yeah.
For, like, I don't know. So it just leaves a bad taste in my mouth.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And the question we're all dying to know: what made you choose Killer Nun?
Well, I think, as I said earlier, I had to kind of narrow down what I had access to, but I think its title just tells you exactly what it's going to be, and I love that.
Yeah.
But I do like trying to find random female characters and all that sort of thing, and it just screamed out to me a bit like this is either going to go like super misogynistic or get some proper sassy female character, and I was like, I'll give this a go. But yeah.
Yeah, so of course we are talking about Killer Nun from 1979, a film loosely based on Cecile Bombeek, who was a middle-aged nun who committed a series of murders in a geriatric hospital in Belgium in 1977.
Wow.
Yeah. But going back to what you just said, Kim, where do we feel like this stands between with the female representation? Because it's really in the middle somewhere for me, because my problem is mostly the mental health representation. But there's definitely some questionable female representation in here, I feel.
Yeah, it's a bit mixed. I think in some ways it's actually a bit ahead of its time.
Yeah.
But in some other ways it's just very of its time.
Yeah.
Like there's just unnecessary nudity and things like that. But I don't know, some people might read it differently, the scene, but when she goes out of the convent and she's out trying to pick up a man, I kind of think that's actually quite well done.
Yeah, that was, yeah.
Some, I don't know, I guess that's personal opinion, but that sort of thing, you just, I don't know, just owning her sexuality is kind of quite good to see. But
I think for me, I was nervous it was going to be hagsploitation. So Anita Egbert was a certain age. She was, it'd been a couple of decades since La Dolce Vita. So I assumed they would sort of maybe make fun of her age, or she would not be able to deal with aging, and that's why she was a killer, or, why she had mental health problems. But in fairness, they never really mentioned her age or really judged her age. She went out and she was sexual, and the camera sort of lingered where it would normally linger when with a bit of TNA in these kind of films.
Yeah.
So I thought that was quite forward.
Yeah, absolutely.
To a certain degree.
I was shocked at the inclusion of a bit of health anxiety in here, like with her towards the beginning. But I'd just like to make it clear for any listeners, as someone who suffers from health anxiety, it does not make you want to do heroin and have hallucinations about murdering people.
No, it doesn't.
No, and I don't look
Are
into
we
you for
allowed to
confirmation.
laugh at that?
I mean, well, yeah, it's a very 1979 way of looking at it, but it surprised me that it was in there because it's not very often you see that in horror.
No.
I mean, I thought this year's Hypochondria, I thought it was the first time that I'd seen it in a film, but then I remembered we watched this and I completely forgot about that.
Yeah. It's not great representation.
No, it's not.
Is it?
No.
You
Probably could have done without it.
know. Yeah.
But yeah.
I can vouch for the fact that Gary is neither homicidal or a heroin addict.
I mean, but her love for men, on the other hand, I don't know if that was brought on from the health anxiety.
I don't know. Well, you do make me wear stockings on the odd occasion, but you know.
Written and directed by Giulio Berruti, who directed We Are Like Fireflies, and he wrote Baba Yaga, The Long Arm of the Godfather, The Others, They Changed Their Faces, Green Tree, and White Fang and the Lone Hunter. Baba Yaga, that was a film, wasn't it?
That was boring, wasn't it?
Very
if I remember
boring.
correctly. But yeah. He loves a lesbian narrative, though.
He
doesn't
does. The 70s style lesbian narrative.
Yeah, yes. Of course.
Co-written by Enzo Gallo. This is his only film. And Alberto Turallo. This is the only film he wrote, but he produced plenty of made-for-TV Italian melodramas.
Oh, that sounds promising.
Does this surprise you? This film was written by all men?
No.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. No way.
And I can't say how much it made or how much it was made for because that information is not available anywhere.
Well, we didn't get Killer Nun 2
Well, yeah. I
back
assume
in
it's
drug
made a
habit.
lot.
So I always say that. I don't know. I'm assuming if a film ever makes money, it's going to get some sort of sequel.
Yeah,
So,
especially in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
Well, they cashed in, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. Giallos generally didn't though, I suppose. I can't think of a Giallo with a
That's true.
sequel.
I can't think of one Jello sequel.
No.
No. I guess they were kind of, once the mystery's unfolded,
Yeah,
how do you then carry that
yeah.
on? It's going to be a separate story anyway, so you might as well just do a completely different film.
Yeah.
That's true.
Should find out who's in it.
Oh yeah, in a section we like to call "Hey, I Know You."
I was hoping you were going to learn it in Italian.
That was Italian.
Oh, was it? Oh.
That heroin. It's really done you in.
So, of course, Anita Ekberg stars as Sister Gertrude, famous for La Dolce Vita, Lost in Translation, Blood Alley, Sign of the Gladiator, War and Peace, Intervista, She, Security Hazards Expert, Gold of the
that sounds good.
Gold of the Amazon Women, and many more.
Yes, I have to admit something. I
What?
feel like I've been going around telling people that Ursula Andress
You have been.
starred in this film.
I feel like I,
I don't
may
know
have been
why.
doing the same.
I felt, but yeah, it's not. It's Anita Ekberg, most famous obviously for flouncing around in the Trevi Fountain in La Dolce Vita.
I thought she was fantastic in this.
Yeah.
Really good. But do you know, it's a better performance than an exploitation film in 1979 deserves.
Oh,
Yeah,
completely.
that's true. That is true.
Yeah, she's on board with the camp value, but it's a very, very serious performance as well. Like, I mean, it would have been easy to completely ham this up.
Yeah.
Which I don't feel like I feel like she's got that right level there. She's just...
Yeah, I suppose that maybe they didn't tell her it was a giallo film. Maybe
No.
they said this is a melodrama about a nun who's addicted to heroin. Because she's not part of any of the murder scenes, is she? She's not even...
That's true. That's
So
true.
She might have been filming a different film. They just inserted these death scenes into it.
Yeah, do we think this is her actual voice on the English dub?
No, she's Swedish.
Yeah.
There's no
Yeah.
Swedish accent there. is
So
there?
she genuinely could have been
everyone in this film, despite Anita Ekberg could speak English quite well.
That's what I meant.
You know, Joe D'Alessandro, he could speak English. You know, he was American. But everyone's dubbed for some reason.
Do you know why that? Because I feel like it's all Italian cinema,
Yeah.
and I still don't really get to the bottom of it. Do you guys know why that is?
No. It usually adds for more entertainment when you watch it with the English dub because it's usually really over exaggerated.
Mm.
I don't feel it was that bad.
it wasn't
was
great.
no,
It
but it wasn't
great.
awful.
No,
Like
well,
some of them,
No,
it's
it's
just
not
so
the worst.
distracting.
there were moments. I think what happens with the Italian films, correct me, anyone listening if I'm wrong, but because I think a lot of the extras and the other actors don't speak English, so they do their lines in Italian. So they might as well just do a whole dub for the whole film,
Yeah.
Yeah.
rather than having to use the audio at the time. They just dub the whole thing cheap, get cheap. You probably have like one person doing 5 different voices randomly. I think that's probably how it works.
Yeah.
It begs the question, why do you cast people who can't all speak the same language? Unless it's meant for the plot. I find it really interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
I suppose you have to have those names though. Someone like Anita Ekberg, it's a big deal. I think if we're being honest, the sort of idea that Anita Ekberg is probably going to play a lesbian nun is a selling point for the film.
Yeah. Thanks for your honesty.
Are we?
I appreciate that.
You're welcome. Are we going to see her naked? And I know it sounds quite crass, but
Well,
a lot of these films are based on.
Oh, absolutely.
I think famously it's this actual Ursula Andress in Mountain of the Cannibal Gods, like a huge deal. Oh my god, you finally see her naked. Yeah, it was a big selling point for what was the throwaway cannibal film. You get to see Ursula Andress undressed.
Yeah.
So I think it stems from that, really.
Yeah.
That also kind of leads to a point I want to make about the gay representation in this and any film involving lesbians in the 70s. You'd look back and you'd think, if you don't know anything about this film, you'd be like, oh, do you know what? That's great. So many films with lesbian characters and everything. This is another case of it's literally just here for its targeted audience. It's nothing sincere about it whatsoever.
No, and I don't think any lesbians are sat at home saying, I'm going to watch Killer Nun for the representation. I think this is going to be great representation. For nuns or for lesbians.
Massimo Serrato is in this as Dr. Poirot. Poirot, I think is how we're saying it.
I feel like saying Poirot because
I kept reading it as
it's Poirot because Poirot's Belgian. This is set in Belgium.
I thought I heard him say Poirot.
Yeah, they're wrong.
Okay,
I'm right.
Okay.
It's
Poirot.
But Poirot, like Hercule Poirot.
Okay.
I'll go with Poirot.
Yeah.
So Dr. Poirot, he was in Don't Look Now, The Omen, The Bloodstained Shadow.
Don't Look Now?
He was the bishop in Don't Look Now.
Oh no, one of my favourite films.
Did you not know?
It's one of those episodes. All my favourite films are coming up.
I was trying to think. I was like, I can't remember who he's in that, but he's in it, so that's good.
He's in The Humanoids, The Sun Rises Again, The Executioner of Lily or Lyle, Camille 2000, Autopsy, and many more.
Wow. Okay.
And a lot of people have been in Camille 2000 this month, haven't they?
Have they?
On this podcast. I swear I've said that multiple times.
I don't know. Should get a reputation if you keep talking about it like that.
What do you think about his short-lived performance?
Yeah, it was
in this
fine.
film?
Yeah, he's just is in it, like nothing remarkable. Really.
If anyone, frequent listeners to the podcast, will know that sometimes we struggle to remember men. I struggle to remember. I'm like, was he in Don't Look Now? All I remember is Julie Christie.
Well, we won't struggle to remember this guy who apparently did a fair bit himself for the LGBTQ plus community back in the day. Joe D'Alessandro was Dr. Patrick Rowland.
Yes, he was.
He won a Teddy Award.
No, he didn't.
Yes, he did.
For this film?
Not for this film.
Oh, fucking hell. I was going to say.
In general.
He didn't win fuck all for this film.
You know what a Teddy Award is?
No. What is that?
Like for contributions to the LGBTQ plus.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, because he worked a lot with Andy Warhol and that era of films. He was in Flesh of Frankenstein, Blood for Dracula, Trash, Flesh. He was in Lonesome Cowboys, Cry Baby, The Limey, Black Moon, Miami Vice, Theodore Rex, Matlock, Queen Lear. Yes, Queen,
Queen
Lear,
Lear, that sounds good.
The Climber, and many more.
Yeah, he was, I think, really objectified in a lot of those Andy Warhol films.
He was.
He was
I
the
believe.
he was the actor that would go full frontal in those kind of
Yeah.
films. You know, back at the time when male actors didn't do that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he's done a lot for the LGBTQ community.
And just to confirm, it is the Teddy Awards, because I was very vague about it. It is an International Film Awards for films with LGBTQ plus topics.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and he won an award. Alida Valli is Mother Superior, and she was, of course, in Suspiria, Inferno, The Third Man, Eyes Without a Face, The Paradine Case, Angel of Death, Probably Love, Fatal Frames, 1900, that 5-hour film where Rob De Niro gets his knob out.
Yes, that's true.
And many more.
I've got a theme going on here. Bloody hell.
And many more. Yeah, she must have been paid a good amount for this, because they definitely couldn't afford for much, could they?
I was gonna say she's not in it much.
No. There's one scene where you see the back of someone's head and it's meant to be her, and that's not her.
She had a
not
spare
there.
afternoon, and they were like, "Do you want to be in a film? Yeah, go on then. What's it called? Killer Nun. Oh, okay then. Yeah, I don't have to provide my own costumes for it." But she's worked with some fantastic directors.
Yeah.
Oh god, yeah. That
Hitchcock,
filmography.
Argento, Bertolucci, Carol Reed. I mean, and I remember her mostly in Suspiria, and she was fantastic.
Yeah.
Completely wasted in this film.
Yeah.
Don't know why she was there. Did she get second billing as well?
She's quite high up on the cast.
She's
yeah.
very high up on the billing.
She has what? Not even 5 minutes screen time.
And finally we have Paula Mora, who plays Sister Matu. She was in The Daughters of Fire, Behind Convent Walls, Mechanical Island, The Teacher Dances with the Whole Class. The poster for that film looks as sketchy as the title sounds. Killing Time, and What an Ugly Mess from Via Muralana. That was a title.
It was half a title. You didn't quite get it all out.
Well, you know.
God bless you.
Small career, bit of a theme going on.
Yes.
Is that at least 2 nun films?
That's at least The Daughters of Fire is also a nun film. So that's,
Wow.
Yeah.
She found her calling.
She
yeah.
did. She did.
Now, shall we talk about our feature presentation?
Go on.
Why did you kill Jeannot, sister?
Don't you have any faith in the police, huh?
No?
You're wrong to be so pessimistic. The police solve crimes. It's their job.
The police look out for their own interest.
This is to the scalpel. What's wrong with you this morning?
You know what's wrong, Doctor.
She discovered certain discrepancies in the drug register. My son was responsible. He was addicted to it. It was morphine. Of course, I should have reported it.
Film is, we are notified straight away, the film is based on actual events that took place in a Central European country not many years ago. This was a nice change, the fact that it was set in what would have been present day back then.
Okay.
Whereas most films like this set way longer ago.
Oh, do you mean the
nunsploitation.
nunsploitation
Yeah.
films? Yeah, they're usually sort of like medieval, like chainmail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they're the better ones, but still, you know, it's nice to see that this was in the 70s.
Don't know why I said chainmail. I don't remember chainmail in Benedetto. But okay.
The Devils?
The devil. There was maybe chainmail in the Devils, but
Sister Gertrude.
another one of my favourite films. It's incredible.
Sister Gertrude, a nun who works in a Catholic hospital for the elderly, returns to work after healing from surgery to remove a brain tumour. She's at confession. Well, we think she's at confession. No spoilers just yet. And admits that she wants to take revenge on all men for what someone did to her. You go, Queen. You take revenge on them, men.
Yeah, she wants to snuff out all men.
She does.
Like he destroyed her happiness. Priest ain't too best pleased, is he?
No.
And he tells her that's very unchristian, and fuck off.
Realistically, it's like, shit, hang on, I'm a man. Fuck.
Yeah.
I'm very close to it right now. Fuck.
Sister Gertrude, she's a nun. She works in a Catholic hospital for what I put the poorly dubbed elderly, because I know we talked about the dubbing. The patients are the
that
worst dubbings
does
of
not
all.
include.
Yeah.
I think they're all Italian actors and
Yeah.
actresses, and yeah, they're really badly dubbed.
My
Yeah.
favourite was the random Cockney Janet.
Yeah, yeah.
Bizarre.
We do get morning sister in like about 20 different accents. And...
Yeah, and you know that's one person.
That's one
That'll
person.
be one person. Morning, sister. Morning, sister. Morning, sister.
Yeah, Sister Gertrude goes to check on two.
Can you do Cockney?
Well, one of the men's randomly Cockney as well. The guy who gets a blowy in a wheelchair. He's, all right, love. He's proper Cockney. That really surprised me. We'll get to that later on.
Dude, who's not a Cockney? This bitch, the Baroness.
The Baroness.
Who refers to herself as the Baroness.
Okay, the Baroness is an absolute queen.
She is a queen. She's a snooty bitch.
Do you have nothing about the two other men who are doing exercises in their room?
Was this before or after the Baroness? I don't remember.
Before the
exercise
Baroness.
men.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
they're the first, I think.
I don't
aren't
remember,
they?
man.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Good, because I thought the scene was going to go somewhere. I had it in my notes and it didn't go anywhere.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I
so
He
assumed he would
mentions
get-
his third leg, though.
he does
Yeah.
mention his third leg.
Lovely.
I assumed we would get some sort of exercise-based death later on.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if it's the slasher film fan in me, but I assumed he would do some sort of stretches and just like his head cut off on the way up.
We
I-
get the... Sorry, Karen.
I was going to say, I assume the only reason he was shown as like this fitness mad was that it was a psychiatric hospital, and that it wasn't general, because like, it wasn't clear
Yeah.
what the hospital's purpose was.
Yeah, he seems to be the one that they make a point of showing acting like that, because he does it something similar later on as well.
In the garden.
Yeah. But everyone else isn't like him. Yeah. I don't think they knew what they were doing here. I feel like
No, because one guy's on quite a bit younger than the others.
Yeah,
So it's not
yeah.
really an elderly hospital, and he's on
Yeah, that's
crutches.
true.
So I
yeah.
don't know.
It's like the smallest pool of patients in
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
biggest hospital. It's, yeah.
Oh, we're back to our theme of terrible professionals.
Yeah, we are
All
actually.
month.
Yeah.
All month.
Yeah,
Apart
it's
from The
true.
Evil Dead, all month, every film has had some sort of terrible medical professional or someone in a
Police
hospital.
or
Police.
fire. Was it firefighters in one of them?
I think it may have been, yeah.
Yeah.
The police in this film, fuck me. They literally show up for one scene. Like,
Oh,
considering
wait,
people are being
God.
regularly murdered in this hospital, they show up for one scene and they take some random character that you don't see again in for questioning.
It's true.
Who, by the way, they take her off in an ambulance.
They do.
Which I was like, that stuck out to me the first time. And I was like, but what? Just, yeah.
Well, we're introduced to the Baroness. We get an amazing conversation with her.
Yeah, she's the Baroness of what? We don't know. It's never established, like, she's the Baroness of Cornwall or...
I think she is, it's like self-prescribed title.
I
She says
see.
something
Yeah.
like, do you know who I am? My something or other was married to someone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, but I do love her. She's one of my favourites.
She wants her tea in her room and she wants it hot as well. But Gertrude's not having it.
Wow.
What is she? She's given what's Devil Wears Prada?
Yeah.
I want my coffee hot.
Yeah, so Gertrude explains that without Dr. Perot's permission, she ain't having that tea in her room. So she says, quite ridiculous, absolutely no respect for this country's aristocracy. Aristocracy? Thank you.
Aristocracy.
It's words have failed me all month. One of my ancestors went to bed with Napoleon. And yeah.
Which makes
Scene
more
stealer.
sense now I realise it's set in Belgium and not like Italy. I assumed it was an Italian.
Yeah, I didn't
Set
realise it was
film.
Belgian until you said. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, right.
Sister Gertrude is helping the doctor when she's triggered by the sight of a scalpel and tells him it's her cancer. Peter tells Sister Matu that she'd look good in a bikini.
Yeah.
Character development.
Yeah, a bit of character development. What, for her or for him?
Oh, for like 4 characters and 2 scenes there.
Us knowing she'd look good in a bikini is in character development.
Sister Matu has an unspoken sexual attraction to Gertrude and believes that her worries are legitimate. Gertrude suffers from anxiety following her surgery and believes that her cancer has returned. But Dr. Poirot, he assures her that there's no evidence for it, and he provides us with some exposition that he was the doctor who removed her tumour.
Yes.
Yeah. Because, I mean, how would we know otherwise?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
he
I
needs to let
removed it for you.
Yeah, as if she'd forgotten.
Do we know the timeline of when she had the surgery? She's got a very thick head of hair on her.
She has. She has. Consider it was a surgery for a brain tumour. And he doesn't look wiggy. I'm assuming it's not a wig.
No. Yeah, good for her. Good for her. Gertrude calls the Mother Superior. Here she is in one of her 2 scenes.
Here she is.
And she also dismisses her fears as hypochondria. She calls her a bitch and puts the phone down.
Yeah, Gertrude is fuming.
Yeah.
And she takes it out on one of the patients, Josephine.
This was an interesting scene, wasn't it?
Very interesting.
Yeah. Did you? I really enjoyed how the Baroness was head of the dinner table. By the way,
She was.
Did everyone else notice?
Yeah.
She had to be head of the table. Yeah. Gertrude's reading them some story about someone getting their breasts ripped off, and
it's one of those stories from the Bible that you never hear. So you know the really juicy Bible stories where people are like burnt alive and
juicy Bible
horrible.
stories.
Yeah,
That spin-off.
Yeah, juicy Bible stories. All we hear is the Jesus dude.
Is that like Hollyoaks After Hours?
It was Hollyoaks After Hours. The juicy Bible stories.
The ones they pretend don't exist.
Yeah.
Yeah, Killinan's here to expose those stories. We hear 3 of those throughout the film.
Mm-hmm.
Just reading them out. Yeah, she gets annoyed at Josephine for taking her teeth out of the table. So, in a bizarre series of events, she throws them on the floor and stomps on them until they're in pieces, much to everyone's horror. Then immediately apologises and offers to buy her some new ones.
Yes.
Oh, that scene, I hate, even though they're not real teeth,
Yeah.
I can't deal with teeth, it was horrible. And poor Josephine.
Yeah, Josephine really gets the rough end of things in this film. I mean, she just minds her own business.
She doesn't get the roughest.
No, but...
And I'm not being funny, she probably should keep her teeth in at the dinner table. It's very disrespectful.
Well, I just love how Gertrude was like, "Oh, buy some new ones."
Buy you
straight
some
away.
new ones.
Just, where can you buy them from? I thought they just prescribed to you.
Amazon.
Okay. Sister Matu tells Gertrude that she burnt all of her x-rays so the doctors wouldn't disbelieve her anymore, and then confesses her love for her. Bit of a silly thing to do, really, isn't it? I mean...
And not very hidden either.
No, like 2 people were
Wide
watching her.
open. In the bathroom.
Yeah.
Casual.
Sister Matu, she was giving me Liza Minnelli as Sally Bowles.
What?
Like, that haircut.
I wasn't expecting that haircut when she took her veil off. I was like, oh.
I think that's quintessential lesbian nun haircut, though, isn't it? I think we've seen a few. At least one of them's got that weird bowl cut.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, all the others are, like, proper, like... I think she's going for the Joan of Arc thing.
I think she is.
Had that sort of bowl... fishbowl haircut.
So is it a serve or is it not a serve?
It's not a serve.
No?
It's not a serve. I'm sorry, it's not a serve.
No.
Liza Minnelli can get away with it. This lady, with all due respect, cannot get away with it. It doesn't suit her at all.
Fair enough. I mean, I just thought she looked like she could have been playing guitar for the Go-Go's, but, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she confesses her love for Gertrude.
Is this in the middle of the night?
It is.
Yeah.
Real touching lesbian love story.
Yeah. So one thing
Really
I've
heartfelt.
noticed from these nunsploitation films, nuns never dress for bed. They're
No.
always naked and softly lit when they're in bed, aren't they?
Yeah,
Mm.
very close to other nuns as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Noticed
The
that.
sheer curtains.
Yeah.
Yeah,
separate
just a
them all.
sheer cut.
Yeah. Their session of talking about X-rays and their love for each other is interrupted by a call to inform them that poor Josephine's having a heart attack. Gertrude's asked to go and get help, but instead she stands outside the room and starts counting until Josephine dies before walking back in and saying, "Her souls are with the angels now, Doctor." And Dr. Poirot, he says, if you had more respect for her age, she'd still be alive. Is
She
that
didn't have the
true?
money for new teeth. That's why she's like, oh, bitch, I ain't got that. I'm a nun. I ain't got the money for this.
She's gone too soon. She didn't even have the time to finish her pack of Tuck biscuits or her pack of assorted broken biscuits. She had 2 packs of biscuits on the go, and she didn't finish either.
Well, he can't finish it without teeth.
No,
That's true.
Suck on them all night.
Do you know what else she didn't finish?
Well,
Her morphine.
no, she
So
didn't.
Sister Gertrude steals the morphine
She
for
does.
herself.
And it's when Cockney Janet, when she's there, she's like, "Oh, it's not your fault, Gertrude." And Gertrude has the biggest smile on her face. She's so pleased with herself, like even though it might have been a small bit.
She's like, I've got Cockney Janet on my side. I don't need anyone else.
Gertrude reveals she was going to give Matu her mother's wedding ring.
Why?
They're in love, and it's a heartfelt love story.
It's not though.
See, I never got the. I always thought that it was just Matu that was in love with her, and she was just
That's-
like,
yeah.
no, but I'm going to play on it anyway. I don't know,
Yeah.
but
I suppose she played.
it's very abrupt and
It
not
is,
dealt
yeah.
with in much depth, is it? But yeah,
Yeah, no, just to get it out there, this is absolutely not heartfelt in the slightest. This is definitely lesbians directed by straight men. Gertrude begins leading a double life in my favourite sequence of events in the film. She dresses like an absolute queen. She ventures into the city and starts pursuing sexual encounters. Including when a waiter walks up to her and asks what she wants to drink, and she says, "Oh yes, it's so nice to be treated like a lady. I think I'll start with a man." That was me when I first started on Grindr back in the day.
man and cognac sound very similar. don't
Yeah.
they?
But like you mentioned earlier, this is really great, and like, I mean, actually great sequence of events, because it does feel like, at least for this sequence anyway, it feels like it's sex positive, and she's just owning it, she's doing what she wants.
We look at it that way.
Yeah,
I don't feel like that's maybe the intention. I think the intention is look at this slag. I do think that's the
I feel
intention.
very
yeah,
much. Yeah.
completely.
We obviously
Yeah.
interpret it our way, and we're like, yes, queen, you get your some. She does act, I think, like a gay man,
She does that like a game.
where she just sits down in the bar. She says to herself, "Look this way, Sister Gertrude is just dying to make love to you."
Wait, is that how you think?
Yeah, she makes eye contact with a man. They don't say a word, and then they go to some random place and shag, and then he pisses off, never to be seen again. I mean, isn't that what every game?
Yes, Sister Gertrude is the embodiment of Grindr.
That is pretty much Grindr.
Well, she sits there and she's like, "No, too Latin looking for my taste."
Oh, and the man with the beard, the weird like half beard.
That was the weirdest beard I've ever seen.
It was awful.
And she's like, "Ah, beard, I like this, but the woman must be his wife. Too bad."
Like, thank God.
And then that's when she's like, he's rather attractive. Why don't you look this way? Oh, wow. Come on, look this way. Sister Gertrude's just dying to make love to you. But going back to what you said about the intentions of the film, the tagline on the Shameless DVD is, "The slut is now uncut."
Yeah,
So-
that doesn't even make sense.
No, it
Because
doesn't.
this is the only scene
Mm.
where we see her having sex. So I wouldn't call that a slut.
No.
No.
I mean, if you've been a nun for God knows how many years, you know.
It does feel out of place, that scene, because it's kind of never touched on again.
Yeah, you feel like it's going to go
And
back to it. Like,
there's no indication that she's done it before. Well, not that I can remember that she's done
No,
it before,
no.
and she's very good at it.
yeah.
And she knows, like, she's got good presence around men. But yeah, it's kind of just happens, and then it's done, and then that's it. And I was like, it was not needed, but I love it.
Yeah.
I think, and I'm coming across quite cynical. I think Anita Ekberg probably said, "I'm not going to do a lesbian sex scene." you know. But the promise is we're going to see Anita Ekberg
Yeah.
shag on screen.
Oh
But
shit! Why do I? Feel
we
like...
didn't. It cut away.
Oh wow!
So we
Oh,
never
yeah.
actually saw her and Matu get it on. I mean,
honestly
the
felt like we did, but
trailers,
no, we
when you
didn't.
watch
Yeah.
the trailers, it pretty
Yeah.
much promises that you're going to see Anita Ekberg, you know, get it on with a lady. Well, you don't. Because she probably said, I'll fully clothed shag a man. and I'll kiss a dead man with his cock on full display. But I won't do the lesbian stuff.
Then let's get to that when we get to it. There's more to say about that. But yeah, they go to the most random location.
It is so weird.
It's
Is
just
it like
some
a corridor?
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
corridor of
Like
some
poor
house.
people who live by there. They're like, don't go outside.
Well, yeah, they. I mean,
Well, we went to Paris, didn't we? And we stopped somewhere quite similar.
where are you going with this?
And we saw Anita, and we were like, "Oh, you're right. Fancy a shag? Let's go." But there's like a foyer, isn't it? And
Yeah.
then people's homes, so they were just getting it on outside someone's
They
front
were.
door.
And they weren't quite about it. This is the most over-exaggerated orgasm noises I've heard in any exploitation film in the 70s. And they're usually pretty ridiculous, but this is really over the top. And the kissing might be the most disgusting kissing I've ever seen in a film. Like, it is ridiculous.
Okay, she's a nun. She don't know what she's doing. It's been a while.
Hey, she
okay.
wasn't the problem. It was him.
Yeah.
He was practically eating her face.
It went on for too long.
It did go on so
considering
long.
we didn't see anything. I mean, he was fully
Yeah.
dressed. You saw a bit of stocking from her. You know, and I'm not a pervert, but you know, if you're gonna promise a bit of TNA, you know, I expect some. Thank you.
Oh, the director provides plenty of that to come.
Yeah, but not from Anita Ekberg.
No. Gertrude just clearly had the best time ever because she just goes back to the hospital and
Can I just got one thing I've got on my notes. Did you really notice that she had on less makeup when she was at the bar
Yeah.
trying to get a man than she does when she's a nun wearing a habit? When
Yeah.
she's got like full eyeshadow on.
Yes.
It always makes me laugh in films when people who shouldn't be wearing makeup are wearing makeup.
I bet that was another demand, probably, wasn't
Yeah,
it? That she's
yeah.
got the best eyebrows I've
Yes.
seen in a long time.
She had the best time, Gertrude, despite the guy finishing in like a minute. She goes back to the hospital and starts sniffing her underwear.
She
The
does.
memories.
She does. It's her underwear.
It is.
What has she got
it
to
is.
remember from her underwear?
Lots.
She's a nut, it's not going to happen often.
Yeah,
is it?
no, I suppose. Yeah.
But she gets a telling off for her behaviour at the hospital and then starts to regret her actions. She starts taking morphine and heroin that's been stolen from the hospital. And in a very bizarre series of events, she passes out after taking it and she starts having graphic flashbacks to her brain surgery, intertwined with staring at and then kissing a naked corpse with a gigantic penis. The prosthetics team had a great time with that one.
Do you think it was?
It didn't look quite right to me. I'm not going to
There was something.
It was very pale.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously this is a corpse, so I think it. I don't think it was real, but if it was, someone's job was to paint that penis.
Yeah.
Like pure white.
Yeah.
William's details about the dead penis. But I
Yes.
think it didn't look real.
Thank you for your penis reviews, everyone. I mean,
What would you give it out of 10?
oh god, 11.
11.
That's fucking huge.
Size alone.
Yeah, I mean, let's guess the size. So what would you give it?
Yeah, it's a solid 10 for me. Practical effects in this film, speaking of which, I think they're pretty good. We
Yeah,
don't get a lot of them,
yeah.
but when they're used, they're pretty
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Meanwhile,
So what do you think pissed the censors off?
I don't usually have a bit of trivia about that. I don't know with this one. I assume it's Janet's death, but it's usually a mix of sex and violence that pissed all the Tories off.
Yeah,
back
so
then.
I think this is one of those that they maybe didn't watch.
Yeah.
or fully delve into. So I think the promise of Christianity,
Yeah.
lesbian sex, and violence all together made it onto the list.
Apparently, this was on the selection, so they showed clips from at court when they were putting forward because this is obviously when no one's prosecuted. This was included on those clips.
Because this is the most, I'm just thinking off the top of my head, overtly religious of the films.
I was gonna say I would feel like the religious themes of it is what would make it.
Yeah.
They don't like the combination of that with the violence and how it, because I don't think it paints the church well, even despite the other stuff that happens in it. But yeah, I think it's that kind of combination of stuff. But,
yeah, I mean, I suppose her kissing a naked corpse as well might have some. But necromantic, was that included on it? It wasn't prosecuted, but I feel like it was included on the bigger list.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see. Yeah, I don't see why they would leave necromantic off.
Well, it wasn't prosecuted, so.
But this was.
This was.
Oh.
Yeah. But I was thinking, maybe a bit of necrophilia might have.
Yeah, I think that would piss Mary Whitehouse off.
Do we think? So we don't think Mary Whitehouse actually watched Killer Nun in full? No?
I don't think so. I don't. I genuinely don't feel like she watched any of them.
It's what makes me laugh though, because I mean, obviously they're saying that these films are being banned. They're saying that grown adults can't watch these films and making decisions for people. But yet, either they've watched them themselves, which makes them massive hypocrites, or they haven't watched them at all, which is just even worse.
Yeah. Because I didn't think it was. I was quite shocked that it was part of that after watching it. Not in like, it wasn't underwhelming the fact I didn't enjoy it, but I was kind of like, oh, there wasn't really that. That's why I think the religious aspect of it is what's brought it in there.
Yeah.
Unless they've not watched it. But yeah, I didn't think it was that bad at all.
Yeah. I think the film actually promises, like, looking at trailers and advertising, the film actually promises a bit more than it delivers.
Yeah.
So that might have gotten their backs up.
Whilst she's having her visions, she, as what we think is happening at this time, again, no spoilers just yet, she bludgeons Sister Matu's grandfather, a patient at the hospital, to death with a lamp, and his body is thrown out of a window, appearing as a suicide. Great dummy, thrown out of a window.
Fantastic dummy. Yeah, it doesn't appear as a suicide, it appears as someone's thrown a fucking dummy from a window. That's what it appears as. What do you think to the soundtrack?
I thought that sequence was great. It was really, and kind of coming back to what we were just saying about it kind of under-delivered on that side of things. I felt like they used it as a bit of a experimental. Some of the music and the combination with the close to the eye and stuff, I really liked it. It was really interesting, and it tried to go more to like that giallo side, I thought. But I think they need to use that music more. There wasn't enough of it.
Look, it should have been. I assumed it was the main theme, but it wasn't used as much as I thought it was going to, because that was actually used in the Red Dead Redemption game.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, it was used in that, and I loved the soundtrack. I actually would say the soundtrack is probably my favourite part of the film, really. It's the one I'll go back to most, and I wish they'd used that a bit more and kept it as like a theme, like Tenebrae or like an Argento film would have a main theme.
Do you know what it reminded me of? You know, when we saw Ganja and Hess, every time
that's true.
It had a bit of that to it as well.
Yeah.
A bit kind of surreal and dreamlike sort of vibe, but yeah.
Sister Matu finds Gertrude's veil with her grandfather's body, but pledging her loyalty, she assures her that she will not implicate her, and promises to burn it to hide the evidence.
In the sink again.
Yeah,
with witnesses. Very good.
Gertrude successfully manages to have Dr. Poirot fired from the hospital. Gone too soon.
Gone too soon. I'm not sure what she said, because she was in trouble.
Yeah.
She says, well, you said this about the doctor. You said this, and I didn't really understand what she said in return to then have him fired.
Yeah, he's just randomly
Apart from
fired.
he's a bit old. Really,
I'm
he's
trying to
close
think
to
back
retirement.
now.
Yeah, and I didn't really get what she said that was so bad to get him fired.
The investigations in this hospital are bizarre. I mean, there's a scene coming up where Gertrude pretty much looks like she's admitting to murder, and all of the patients are like, okay, let's just go about our day. And like, no one reports her. Like, yeah. Again, keeping up with our trend from this month.
Yeah.
Following the doctor's dismissal, the young and handsome Dr. Patrick Rowland is hired as his replacement.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this is Joe D'Alessandro.
Yes. Looking like Paul Weller in the 80s.
Yeah.
I thought it was a bit like Tobey Maguire.
He did.
The hair's quite greasy. It's
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
slicked back. I wasn't a huge fan.
No, it brought my favourite line though, this scene. Where, is it Pete or Peter? I can't remember which one. The guy on the crutches is walking with Sister Matu's like, oh, it's a new doctor. Do you find him attractive? It's like, right, okay.
Yeah. That's also followed by some more fantastic dialogue when all the patients are introducing themselves to him. We get the sirens. We get every episode as well.
They've heard what you've been saying about them.
Yeah. So the first one says, "You won't have much work to do here, Doc." Someone else says, "There is the fiddle. That's me."
Fit as a fiddle.
I thought he said there is the fiddle.
No, he's calling himself fit as a fiddle.
Yeah.
Because he's the old man that exercises all the time.
Yeah. Someone else says, "Doctor, I have 11 kids."
She says no cure for that.
There's no cure then. Very true.
And then that same guy who was doing the exercising says, "Do you have something for diarrhea, Doc? Diarrhea drains your vitamin D and weakens your sex drive." I mean, I don't know why Dr. Rowland wasn't like, okay, fuck this. What is going on here?
Turn around and leave immediately.
Did you hear what the Baroness said to
No.
the patient? So one of the Baroness is going over with another patient. It wasn't Cockney. It may have been the Cockney one. But she says that her stomach is rumbling. She's so hungry. And the Baroness says, "Ladies don't talk about their bodily functions."
I think that is to Janet because I kept thinking she was like following her around. So many good lines.
It's because she's been staring at those tuck biscuits and the salted biscuits the whole time.
Oh,
she
she
just
shared
wants
a
to.
room with Josephine.
She feels
didn't
bad
she?
taking them. The patients and Sister Matu decide they want to play the truth game with Gertrude.
Okay, I have an issue with the truth game because it's not a game.
It's not a game.
It's like, can we
Evolve
ask you a
this
question?
game.
Let's play the truth game.
It feels like they didn't know how to tie that bit of
Yeah.
goosies together. They were like, what can we put in?
It was like if it was an interview, like
Yeah.
Frost Nixon, and Frost turned around and said, "Let's play the truth game with Richard Nixon." Yeah.
Yeah.
He just asked a question. So Peter asked Gertrude why she killed. Who did she kill? She said, "Oh, the granddad." Does he get a name? The granddad.
I don't.
I feel like it was Janu or something that sounded similar.
Janu. I'm going to say Janu. So Peter just says, "Oh, Sister Gertrude, why did you kill Janu?"
But this is the scene I was on about, and she's just there like, I don't know what you're on about.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't kill anyone. Shut the fuck up here.
Yeah, and then Sister Matu, whose grandfather it was,
Yeah.
just like, let's just go now. Okay. You've ruined the
So
game.
don't ask that question, please. It's rude.
Another one of the patients asks why she keeps making them pray so much, and apparently it's against his religion. He goes off on quite the rant.
Oh, he's an anarchist,
he is.
an atheist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She doesn't really have an answer for that order killing question. So the game comes to an abrupt end with a really awkward silence. Like, we see them walking away for far too long. It goes on for
It
ages.
just got... There are moments of travel in this film that go on for far too long.
During a rainstorm, Gertrude witnesses Cockney Jonathan, an elderly male patient, having sex with a young female orderly in his wheelchair outside. This is when his accent really took me by surprise. Come on, Trish, here it is. Down on your knees, darling. Oh, fucking hell. Who did the voiceover for that?
Oh, it's one of the worst scenes. It's so grim.
It really
Oh,
is.
so grim.
horrible.
It really is. I mean, it's,
She just stares, just like
Yeah, she
horrified.
just
Just
Yeah.
walk away,
it's
Gertrude.
super camp though. I did
It
find
was
it super camp. I mean, her eyes are popping. They're there. They're going. There's the dramatic lighting, the dramatic lightning.
Yeah.
There's the come on Trish, here it is, referring to his penis. Pissing
Yeah, he
down
points
with
at it.
rain.
He points at his
He
penis
points
like
at
he doesn't
it.
know where it is.
I mean, Gertrude is getting soaking wet, and
She's literally out in it. She's not hidden at all,
No,
is she? She's
and-
probably like 2 feet away, just like staring.
and I don't know where she got waterproof mascara from. You know, I don't know where these nuns are getting waterproof mascara from. But I thought it was high camp. I love this.
It was a
scene.
bit
So
much for.
stupid.
It was a bit much for.
It was a lot.
For a scene that's there for a bunch of straight men to get their jollies off in the late 70s. I mean, that's a lot of effort to go to.
Well, yeah. I mean, this Trish, we see a close up of her breasts when her sort of top's been lifted up. and
Of
it's like,
course.
really?
Yeah.
Is this,
It's so unnecessary.
can you not be a bit more creative? Do you know what I mean? Some of these films we watch, and I have no issue with if actresses or actors want to get undressed for the role. I have absolutely no issue with it, but be a bit more creative with it.
Yeah.
A bit more interesting.
It just felt unnecessary though, because I mean, we watched two characters have sex in a hallway, fully clothed.
Yeah.
And then these two are out in the pouring rain, thunder and lightning,
Yeah.
and that's the right time to get a close-up shot of her without a top on.
It just felt extra seedy.
Yeah.
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 Later, Gertrude awakens from a nightmare in which she suffocates Jonathan for that terrible accent. She's unable to figure out whether it was a dream or if she might have actually committed another murder.
Oh.
So we get a very bizarre series of events with her and System 2. One that doesn't go on for very long and ends very abruptly, where she calls her a foolish little bitch and the worst type of prostitute. She accuses her of being a fake lesbian and a whore, and forces her to wear silk stockings, and the scene ends.
Yes.
Within the space of a couple of minutes.
I did think you missed a line of dialogue there.
Did I?
Yeah. I don't know if you caught it, Kim. But Gertrude accuses Matu of flaunting her big floppy breasts at her.
Is
at
that
every
what she
chance.
says?
And also flirting with the new doctor, making her a whore. And maybe not as much of a lesbian as Gertrude had initially
Yeah, she
thought.
called her a fake lesbian.
Despite her being a nun, Gertrude says she still prefers men. But if she is to sleep with a woman, she needs to wear silk stockings, and she forces Matu to put on a pair. And then Matu goes over and it cuts, so you don't
Yeah.
see any of what all the I know I keep going on, but it's the truth. All of what the advertising was promising was that we were going to get this lesbian sex scene. Very strange dialogue. It caught me off guard. The big floppy breasts.
Because they're not. at all. It's just insulting.
Who wrote this? I mean, I'm not. That is high camp, like just giving her a reading her to filth for no reason. Like, what is this for? Who is this for?
And you can tell it's written by a man with the stockings thing. It's like,
Yeah. Also,
That's-
where are the nuns getting all this from? Why have the nuns got silk stockings, waterproof mascara, engagement rings? Like, I thought they were meant to get rid of everything before they became nuns.
Tell me you're not the target audience for this film without telling me you're not the target audience for this film.
Did Whoopi Goldberg lie to me? I mean, what's going on here? Julie Andrews would never.
yeah, I don't think the convents will be saying it's not accurate. That's their only complaint about the film. That's not what we do.
Do you think the actress who plays System 2, do you think she was reading through the scripts like, Oh, fake lesbian, and your big floppy. Hey, hang on a minute.
Oh god. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, the entire scene is completely unnecessary. Did not need to happen. Adds absolutely nothing to the film whatsoever. This entire lesbian storyline adds nothing to the fucking plot.
Do you think Big Floppy Tits
Yeah.
was a mistake in the
It's a typo.
translation?
Oh.
In the translation, so like maybe there's a more accurate and flattering word in the Italian version,
Floppy.
but it translates to English to floppy. And so the actress, she watches it in Italian and is like, oh, that's lovely, you know. I really do have lovely perky breasts. And then she watches the English version, like, hey.
Any Italians
Yeah.
want to confirm or deny?
Yeah, anyone know Italian? What's Italian for floppy?
I feel like I do feel like whoever's doing dubbing was just making it all up as they're going along at some points in this. I mean, like the diarrhea dialogue a few scenes back.
Yeah.
Did someone actually write that? Jonathan's corpse is found the following morning in the grass, and Florence is taken in for questioning. Now, I know what you're all thinking. Who's Florence? We have no fucking idea.
Where's Florence?
Kim, do you have any idea who Florence is?
Is she not the woman who he was having sex with?
That was Trish.
That was Trish.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, then I have no
Yeah.
idea. She looked the same though, but
She did look the same. Do you think they just got the name mixed up?
I absolutely
I'm going to
100%
assume that
think so.
probably more believable.
Yeah.
But yeah, when they find his corpse, he's still moving and alive,
Yeah.
breathing.
Yeah.
And then she
I
gets
wondered
taken
what
away
you
in
were
an
gonna say
ambulance.
Yeah, she's taken away in an ambulance by the police. And seemingly they're happy with that. That's
Case closed.
Case closed.
Problem solved. End of film. So what did you think?
We then get a group clapping session.
Yeah, which is apparently is exhausting.
Yeah. Not sure what this is about. Then we get a prayer for Jonathan, and Gertrude has a nervous breakdown before someone hits her over the head. Who do we think did it?
Sister Matu.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
For a funny guess.
No. I didn't see her get hit over the head, actually.
Did you
I
not?
miss that?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, with some sort of pole or bar.
Oh, I thought she was making that up.
No, she gets hit over the head.
Wasn't it with the crutch? One of the crutches.
Yes.
I think.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh my god, all my notes after this are based on the fact that she got hit over... She didn't actually get hit over the
Wow.
head.
Sorry to disappoint you.
I can't go on.
Shortly after, Cotley Janet is bound and gagged by an unseen assailant and ritualistically stabbed in the face with needles and slashed in the head and neck by a scalpel. And this scene is fucking grim.
Yeah, so the idea is that Cockney Janet has seen what happened.
Yeah.
And she's a little reluctant to come forward to grass anyone up. So she gets shut up instead. And yeah, this is quite graphic.
Yeah, I think it's the best. It's probably my favourite kill. Well, probably favourite scene actually. The effects in it are really good.
Yeah.
But I think as well, you know, when she's doing the readings at the beginning when they're all having dinner, I think one of the things she talks about is having needles stabbed in the mouth slit open and stuff.
Okay.
So I think it like replicates that as well. Which I thought
Yeah.
was quite good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really... It's kind of out of place because it's actually quite a creepy scene as well. Like, it's just really, you know, the way it's shot, the way the soundtrack's used, and in some instances not used in this scene.
And this
It just fits really well.
image
Yeah.
as well was a big one for the advertising.
Yeah, and it's a really great horror scene, but compared to everything else that happens in the film, which is like more camp and
Yeah, it does feel out of place.
Yeah.
Yeah, this feels more giallo.
It does,
I
yeah.
feel this moment
kind of reminded me of
feels more-
opera.
Yeah, definitely opera or any of them really. They've all got that sort of cutting away from someone being tortured kind of scene.
Yeah.
One thing about the film as well is that the sex and the death are actually quite separate.
Yeah.
Despite the wheelchair Trish scene, you know, the sex and the death are quite separate, so it's not that sexual violence. I'm thinking something like New York Ripper, which is very seedy and really quite trashy in its over sexualized violence, and a lot of giallo films could be accused of that. And this one, I felt that they kept it separate, so it didn't feel as grimy.
Yeah.
It didn't feel as misogynistic as a lot of these giallos do feel.
Yeah.
So I appreciated that. I assume, is that the word I'm looking for?
I guess it's a bit refreshing for the time. Isn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah. Yeah. Glad you were getting stabbed in the face. Just also glad that you were fully clothed.
Oh, poor Courtney Janet.
After Courtney Janet's body is found hanging in an elevator shaft, Dr. Rowland no, he does not seduce her. He sedates.
Oh, excuse me.
I'm used to seeing seduce everywhere in my fucking notes, and now sedates a panicked Gertrude.
I liked the scene where Sister Gertrude finds Janet's body and the blood dripping on her.
She's wearing cleaning gloves.
She is. Well, it's a little fun fact. When I was trying to do some research for the film, because there's not much out there, I obviously looked for it on YouTube to see if anyone had done like essays or anything on it. What I did find was what I believe to be a kind of fetish video highlighting Anita Ekberg with pink latex gloves on.
That's a very specific fetish.
Yeah, but it was Anita Ekberg pink gloves, and that seemed to be the highlight of the video and the reason for the video.
I mean, you do you, but that is very, very specific.
It is. I mean, considering the film as well, it's a bit out there, isn't it?
Yeah, sexiest scene in the film is those pink gloves.
That's not. I mean,
had
I'm
me
not
questioning my sexuality at one point.
No, I mean, we're not kink shaming anyone. It was just a weird thing. I'm like, I'm looking for research, and all I can find is highlighting these pink gloves. And then I was like, watching the film afterwards, I'm like, well, pink gloves aren't really that important.
No, it is very like specific.
Isn't Janet killed with pink gloves though?
Yeah,
like
she is.
like normal giallo films, you would have the black gloves.
Yeah.
So I suppose
pink, yeah.
this is the red herring for us to think Sister Gertrude is the killer.
Yeah, I'll be completely honest with you. All I could think of is those Kim Woodburn cleaning gloves from Poundland.
Yes.
That's all
they
I
do.
could see.
They do look like my Kim Woodburn Poundland.
Hey, I wasn't going to say you brought
gloves.
them, but
Did you make the video?
I am Anita.
When Gertrude awakens, she confronts Peter, who claims to have knowledge of who is committing the killings. Gertrude believes him, assuming she's being framed, and he won't reveal any further details to her. So, unfortunately for us, she steals his crutches from him, leading to about 20 minutes of Peter climbing the fucking stairs with his wife fronts popping out every now and then. Oh my god.
This really is.
This dragged the film down for me. It went on for so long.
Absolute, so painstaking. Like, what is the point? What is the reason for us to watch this man crawling up some stairs where his fucking trousers are falling down and he has to keep pulling them back up? Like, what is this for?
It was, I found the ending, that part of it very testing.
Yeah.
Both times I watched it this week. Oh my god.
Yeah, this is more of what I remember from when we first watched it. I don't remember much else from when we first watched it a few years back. I enjoyed it more this time, but I do remember thinking back then, oh god, it's so boring. Now, this is what I remembered. Just him climbing up the fucking stairs.
Yeah. From this moment forward, it is kind of boring.
Yeah.
Because we tediously watch him climb the stairs, crawl up them, and then we're like, okay, is Peter going to save the day? Is this why they're making such a big point of him crawling up the stairs? You know, because if he was going to get killed, could have fucking killed him on the first step, for fuck's sake. So he gets to the top, grabs his crutch, and like, no, he's murdered.
In the most boring way.
Kicked in the head a few
He's kicked in the
times.
head.
Bloody
They went
boring.
all the way up the stairs just for that. I mean, Cockney Janet, all she needed to do was be Cockney, and she got a proper great death.
She really got punished, didn't she?
And Peter, he's just boring for the whole film, and well, I suppose it's quite fitting, really. Then.
Yeah, I suppose.
Boring
so.
character, boring death. His body's found in the boiler room, and Gertrude is escorted out of the hospital and met by the Mother Superior. Questionable whether it's actually her or not, with the shot that they use from behind. She scolds her for her behaviour and has her sent to an isolation cell to be sedated.
Yeah, so definitely not in the same scene together.
No.
Anita Ekberg and Alida Valley. Alida Valley, she literally had like a couple of hours spare. Like, you know, just film it here. Okay, just get it really close up so it doesn't matter where I am. And yeah, done. You know, second billing. Thanks, love. You know,
Decent payday.
yeah. And then 10 years later, she says, "Oh, you're rolling Killer Nun." She said, "Was I in Killer Nun? No idea. Never heard of it."
Meanwhile, Sister Matu confesses to Dr. Rowland to stealing drugs for Gertrude and threatens to commit suicide if she's exposed. She then begins to seduce him.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because she just needed some more female nudity
This is
to
absolutely
finish off.
what we
It's
needed.
been a while since we've seen some.
Yeah.
So
Again, so unnecessary. It's unbelievable.
it's really boring.
This is where my mind gets foggy about the end of the film.
Yeah. This is the image used on a lot of the posters as well. Her going down on him, but never actually going down on him.
Yeah. Again, it promises more than it delivers.
Yeah. Meanwhile, isolated in her cell, Sister Gertrude, she is detoxing from her drug abuse, and she starts to remember that Sister Matu is the killer. I was shocked. I was absolutely gagged. I did not see this coming.
Why
I
not?
didn't either.
Well, who did you think it was then?
I thought it was Gertrude.
Oh, so you
Yeah.
didn't think... But Jealous are always like a bit of a mystery.
They are, yeah. A lot of the time watching this, I forgot I was watching a Giallo.
Oh, okay.
And like I said, we watched this before, and I completely forgot this ending. But yeah, no, I was really surprised. I mean, it's obviously going to be one of the two, like you said earlier before we recorded. You know, she is a lesbian. It's 1979. There's a good chance she's going to be the killer. But at the same time, Gertrude is having mental health struggles. That's also a red herring in the 70s for someone being a murderer.
Yeah, I suppose
So it could have been either.
Yeah.
But I was convinced it was Gertrude actually doing it. So well done, filmmakers, for that. That's something you did right. But yeah,
Still a smidge homophobic.
it is a smidge homophobic.
Well, what they sort of, and then it's really annoying actually. The ending of this film is the thing that really sort of annoys me
Yeah.
about it, because everything else is quite fun. They kind of just explain it away, not necessarily, you know, because she's a lesbian who's in love with Gertrude. It suggests at the end that her grandfather abused her as a child.
Yeah.
And that's why she's doing all this.
Yeah, so
And why she says she wants to punish all men. I mean,
the character confessing at the start is Sister Matu.
yeah, and then at the end, it's sort of the big reveal of what it is, and then it's the end. Like, okay, you're using sexual abuse as number one, a plot device,
Yeah.
and number two, as a legitimate reason for her to be a mass murderer. You know,
Yeah.
it's stupid, and I know it's a sign of the times, and you know, you would never have that now. Hopefully, you know, touch words, you would never get that as a reason.
I hope not.
But I mean, the other, you know, you thought Sister Gertrude was. Well, Sister Gertrude is a heroin addict, you know, who's maybe having complications from a brain tumor. I mean, that's still not great, but it kind of explains a bit more why she would be having, you know, murderous tendencies. But it's literally the reason is because she's a lesbian who was abused by her grandfather as a child.
Yeah.
And that's why she's the murderer. Like, you know,
Yeah.
try again.
That was disappointing.
That's not the one. Sorry.
And-
Sorry to end.
But that is literally how the film ends.
That is how the film ends. I mean, there's no, you know, it's quite a dark ending because there's that revelation.
Mm.
No one, gets punished for anything really. I mean, Sister Gertrude gets the help that she needs because she is a drug addict, but everyone thinks that she's the murderer, and Sister Matu gets away with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame.
Yeah. Agreed. It was an underwhelming ending for what was quite fun and experimental for most of it, and then it was just a bit.
Yeah.
I don't know. It felt a bit throwaway at times, and then, like you said, the kind of shoehorning in of those explanations, air quotes explanations.
Yeah.
Then, yeah.
Yeah, and that's pretty much how we get any sort of exposition in the film as well, is through those like scenes of just characters mentioning things that are convenient for the scene.
Yes.
But yeah, the ending is terrible. It's a great twist until the motivations are revealed.
Yeah, I would have liked the big reveal to be Dr. Poirot.
Oh yeah, that'd have been
I
better.
mean, that would have made sense, setting up Sister Gertrude because he always hated her. I mean, that would have been a great reveal.
Yeah.
And when I do the remake, that will be the ending. So just pretend I never said that.
Yeah, that's Killer Nun.
That is killing her. Yeah. I said it before. I think the soundtrack is what I would go back to.
Yeah.
In the future, because I really I'd love to get it on vinyl. I think it's a fantastic soundtrack. Am I going to watch the film within the next 10 years? Unlikely. I might watch it again at some point, but yeah, it's all right.
Yeah.
It's all right. It's all right.
I had more fun with it this time than I did the first time I watched
Yeah.
it. That's for certain. I must have been in a bad mood that day. But yeah, the camp value is makes it worth watching alone.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to enjoy and a lot to laugh at, but then, yeah, it's a weird mix. I don't know.
Yeah.
I really struggled to kind of rate this one, I think. But, yeah, I enjoyed my time with it, though, so, yeah.
So, let's get to the awards. Biggest Queen. Who do we... I feel like there's two answers here, but I gave it to Sister Gertrude.
Yeah, Sister Gertrude very specifically.
The scene where she goes into town.
Out of nun drag. So when she's out on the town, when she's giving us Julia from Hellraiser, that's when I thought she was the biggest queen.
Yeah, I think thought her, but I was like, I have to go left field and went with the Baroness.
Yeah, that was my other choice.
Yeah.
She reminded me of the cast of Steel Magnolias as well. She with her pink hair and her ridiculous kind of like ladylike comments. Yeah, loved her.
Biggest gasp, I've got the Sister Matu killer reveal.
I got the dummy being pushed out the window reveal, flopping on the way down.
I put Josephine's fake teeth being stomped
Oh,
on.
yeah, good
that
choice.
might make another appearance on the awards. Best dialogue, it has to be, one of my ancestors went to bed with Napoleon.
I'm sorry. It had to be flaunting your big floppy breasts at me. I do apologise. It was so out of nowhere. That should have been biggest gasp. Actually, I was like, oh.
I had a few noted down, but I've got two that I can't decide between. The first one is when Gertrude's at the bar and she says, "I think I'll start with the man." Cognac. Or when Peter says to Matu, "That's a new doctor. Do you find him attractive?" Because that's the first thing you ask when the new doctor arrives.
That's camp. I have, you guessed it, Sister Gertrude smashing Josephine's teeth.
I've got Stormy Evening, Old Man Blowy, Anita Ekberg's eyes are popping, and waterproof mascara. High camp.
I had Sister Gertrude at all times, basically. But then when she's out looking for a man, just going through all the people at the bar, I love that. The best.
And finally, nastiest moment, I have Janet stuff.
Poor Janet.
Same.
Yeah, I agree. Poor Janet.
Cockney Janet. And ratings, I give it 7 Napoleon dick appointments out of 10.
Okay, I'm so sorry. I gave it 6 big floppy breasts out of 10. I couldn't resist. That
mine's
my
well
dog
boring
is
now.
stuck with me.
Just give it 6 rosaries out of 10.
Oh.
I'm not as imaginative.
Masterpiece, trash to piece, trash or basic? I mean, it's not really any, really.
I've got it in between, somewhere between trash to piece and basic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a bit tame for what I was
Mhm.
kind of expecting, but there were some great moments in it
Yeah.
that made it not fully basic or just complete trash. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I completely agree.
Yeah, absolutely. If any of our listeners want to check it out, if you haven't already, it's available on DVD and video on demand. And I recommend, if you enjoyed this, checking out Benedetta.
Yes, I was going to recommend the exact same.
He does that every time. He's always the first one there. And then I'm like,
I also recommend The Devils. There we go. Kim, you can have Benedetta.
I recommend Lizard in a Woman's Skin, a giallo about a woman who doesn't really know if she's a murderer or not. Really good Lucio Fulci film. Yes.
So, if you are a fan of Killer Nun, it's Killer Nun fan club, talk to us on social media. We're Horror Cult Trash over on Facebook and Instagram, Horror Cult Trash on Twitter. I'm Dead at Gaz92 on Letterboxd, Gazmo205 on Instagram, and GazCruise92 on Twitter.
I'm Chris Barker823 on Instagram and Letterboxd.
And don't forget to check out Gasp Horror Fest across social media as well. A new thing we will be plugging and forcing upon you every single week. Rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes, like and follow on everything else, rating on Spotify. Kim, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me. It's been fun.
Thank you for choosing this
Great
camptastic
film.
And where can we find you on social media?
So on Instagram, it's kims.cinema.escape, and Letterboxd is k_cinema_escape, I think. Oh God. But my link to my Letterboxd is on my Instagram if you want to use it. And
Amazing.
then if the podcast comes back, fingers crossed, next year, it's Cinema Ball Podcast on Spotify and everything else.
Brilliant.
Amazing. We will be back next week, starting our Christmas episodes with, I'm very proud of this title, a very 90s Christmas threesome, where we'll be discussing the Christmas tree, the Christmas light, and the nuttiest nutcracker, all terrible 90s animated Christmas films under an hour.
Yes.
And it was all Chris's idea.
It was all my idea. I am so excited. This is
The
going
right
to
word?
be excited is the word. Yes. This is going to be the highlight of our Christmas. Just full stop. Period.
Okay.
Done.
In that case, we'll be back same time, same place next week.
Bye.